Back again with another YouTube video. It's your boy Ryan G. We're gonna react to WWE in the 2010s, every year ranked from worst to best. Let's get right into the video. Come on now. Alright, we got an advertisement. Kept on going back and forth.
Full decade of WWE's lifespan is actually the hardest to evaluate overall. In many ways, it feels like the company just stayed the course in the 2010s, not rocked by any major scandal or threat to their existence. They continued to grow as a presence and money-making enterprise while remembering to occasionally put on some good wrestling too. But was it really all sunshine and rainbows? Were there some years that were better or worse than others? Well, yeah, that's the whole point.
See, every year ranked.
Of this video, and like any 10-year chunk of time, there were peaks and valleys. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic Wrestling, and this is WWE in the 2010s, every year ranked from worst to best. Join us. Number 10, 2010. If you were a TNA fan in 2010, then you will likely remember this year as the one where Impact went head-to-head with Monday Night Raw and got its backside soundly beaten. WWE famously countered that move by bringing Bret Hart back into the company for the first time in over 12 years, only to have him compete in a rubbish match with Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 26. ECW was finally mercy-killed in 2010, and this was also the
At ECW, the last few years of ECW, when they had the reboot with Ezekiel Jackson, Vladimir Kozlov, William Regal, Yoshitatsu, or like Shelton Benjamin, Christian with the Peep Show and all that, when he had the ECW championship run. Yeah, that was a good ECW. 2010 was alright, especially Raw. Y'all like 2010 WWE?
the year WWE lost Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Batista as full-time workers. And of course, we have to talk about the Nexus. A group of rookies from the first season of NXT, get used to hearing those three letters, the Nexus had one of the best debuts in company history, turning up on the June 7th episode of Raw to destroy everything and everyone in sight. How could WWE possibly screw this new red-hot group up? Why by having them lose to Team WWE at SummerSlam and make them look like...
Yeah, I can't forget the first season of NXT. That was 2010. The first few seasons of NXT are like the best seasons. I miss the old NXT. Like the original yellow NXT logo, all yellow stadium. I'm not even a fan of yellow. Like I'm not a fan of the color, but the NXT feel of like the original 2010, and then I like the 2015 2016 NXT also with the new NXT stars
like chumps for the rest of the year. That's how. Whilst 2010 wasn't a year of cataclysmic failures for WWE, the bad stuff did outweigh the good stuff by a considerable degree. Number 9, 2013. 2013 is the year that the Daniel Bryan underdog story really got underway. The American Dragon was screwed out of the world title time and time again, which would lead to the groundswell of fan momentum that would propel him to the main event of the next year's WrestleMania. However, it's important to remember that none of this was intentional. WWE were just hell-bent on stopping Bryan's rise, showcasing a lack of awareness that had never really been seen before in a professional wrestling company. It was only through massive fan pressure that the company finally ceded to their wishes. Before the Bryan train built up some steam, WWE found themselves in hot water over CM Punk's incorporation of the recent death of Paul Bearer into his feud with The Undertaker. Also, 2013 was the final year that Jim Ross worked full-time for WWE, another cherished element of the past let go. Sure, Dolph Ziggler cashed in Money in the Bank, the Wyatt family debuted, and the promotion opened its performance center, but 2013 was still a pretty damn rough year to be a WWE viewer, especially if you were a fan.
Yeah, like it wasn't the best year of wrestling, but it was still, a good era, good time of wrestling before, wrestling kind of started fading away in a sense when it came to booking. Like I've always been a wrestling fan, still am. But there's been years of wrestling where it's not been the greatest, as far as booking and stuff like that.
And of a certain wrestling farm animal. Number 8, 2012. WWE's accountants would probably say that 2012 was a great year because it was the year of the most bought WWE pay-per-view of all time. WrestleMania 28 was sold on the once-in-a-lifetime lol match between The Rock and John Cena, a tactic that certainly bore fruit. The night after Mania, Brock Lesnar made his return to WWE after 8 years away, which may or may not be a good thing depending on how you feel about the Beast. Raw celebrated its 1000th episode in 2012, which was nice until everybody realized that the special 3-hour runtime wasn't going away.
12 hour in the WWE that time. Yeah, 2012 was a good year of wrestling, I can admit.
3 hours every week. What takes 2012 to the next level is the creation of its brand new developmental system. The name NXT had previously referred to the company's weird reality cum game show thingy, but was used to replace the previous farm system of FCW in 2012. With Seth Rollins as its first ever champion, NXT quietly began to grow into the monster success it would eventually become. Oh, and speaking of Rollins, he made his main roster debut at Survivor.
Yeah, I had this on DVD, Survivor Series 2012. They made their debut, and they made a statement that night.
The series alongside Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. Those three guys may have played a part for the rest of the 2010s, Number 7, 2019. It seemed like nothing good could happen in WWE in 2019 without it being connected to something awful. This was the year that women main evented WrestleMania for the first time ever. Unfortunately, WrestleMania 35 lasted a bum-numbing 7.5 hours including the pre-show, the longest pay-per-view in WWE history. SmackDown moved to Fox, which was worth big bucks to the big dubs. Sadly, this led to Brock Lesnar squashing Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship, practically erasing all of the goodwill that his Mania title win had built up. WWE put on their first televised women's match in Saudi Arabia's history, which was good. What was less good was Goldberg almost killing The Undertaker at another Saudi show earlier that year. And then there's The Fiend. Bray Wyatt's alter ego gripped us when it first emerged at SummerSlam, only for the character's momentum to get squashed quicker than a bug on a car windscreen. The farcical ending to The Fiend's match with Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell drew the ire of just about every.
Yeah, this match, I heard the ending and the match overall wasn't well.
Everyone in the wrestling fandom, and with good reason. So yeah, 2019 had a lot of positives, but almost all of them came with a caveat. Number 6, 20.
The future is won by...
Alright, we have an ad. Okay. We have to wait. Well, it's only 6 seconds. Well, nope. Why did it do that?
WrestleMania 30 will go
2014, alright, he's starting off for WrestleMania 30.
down as one of the most important shows in WWE history. Not only did Daniel Bryan give fans the fairy tale ending they had hoped for, but the crowd in New Orleans also witnessed Brock Lesnar break The Undertaker's legendary WrestleMania winning streak. The jury is still very much out on whether this was good or bad. Bryan's title reign wouldn't last long as he was forced to relinquish the belt due to mounting injuries.
I don't really see a problem with him winning because, there has been wrestlers who, was supposed to actually be Undertaker. I mean, you're like Edge, but he didn't want to do it. But as far as Brock Lesnar, around that time he looked like a beast. Around that time, 2014, he had the title, stuff like that. Then, after he beat Undertaker with the streak, then he actually won the world title again, and he just was winning world titles and stuff. They pushed him right after he beat Undertaker. He was already destructive, reckoning as a wrestler. So
Opened the door for Brock Lesnar to win the gold at SummerSlam, ushering in the era of part-timers as world champs. NXT, meanwhile, had a bumper year, putting on their first WWE Network special in February. Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, and Becky Lynch all arrived to the roster as Sami Zayn and Charlotte Flair both won their first titles. Sadly, this wasn't enough to gloss over some of the controversy on the main roster. CM Punk walked out of the company, the Ultimate Warrior passed away just days after being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and various ex-wrestlers filed the first of many lawsuits against the company pertaining to concussions. And also, the WWE Network launched, which changed the way we watch wrestling forever. A real mixed bag was 2012. Number 5, 2016. 2016 kicked off with a bang when WWE revealed they had signed 4 huge names from New Japan Pro Wrestling. AJ Styles, the Good Brothers, and Shinsuke Nakamura all made their on-screen debuts over the next few months, drastically changing the layout of the company. In fact, Styles would even end the year as WWE Champion. Who saw that coming? TNA cast-off Bobby Roode also debuted, which was glorious! The biggest show of the year.
Oh yeah, you know, that AJ Styles reign, 2016, or Dean Ambrose. What was it? What was his first? Who did he have his first reign, like, title defense? Because I know he was a heel when he had his first world title reign, I believe.
WrestleMania 32 might have been a bit of a poo sandwich with extra poo, but it did see the end of the despised Divas Championship and the intro.
I think I still have this WrestleMania on DVD. I'm not sure. But I done seen this WrestleMania literally a lot of times. What is this, like WrestleMania 32? Or I think it's just 32.
Introduction of a new women's championship. This theme would continue at Hell in a Cell when Sasha Banks and Charlotte became the first women to main event a WWE pay-per-view. The Cruiserweight Classic enthralled viewers over the summer, although the follow-up left a lot to be desired. Seth Rollins returned from injury, but Daniel Bryan said goodbye with his first retirement speech. Goldberg and Shane McMahon came back, which was good at the time but got less good as the years went on. Honestly, it was a tough call between 2016 and 2014, but we really just hate that goddamn butterfly belt, you know? Number 4, 2018. WWE's women's division had been changing rapidly throughout the 2010s, but 2018 saw a lot of growth all at once. The first ever women's Royal
They said 2018 and WWE wasn't a good year of wrestling. So as far as booking,
Rumble match was swiftly followed by the first ever Women's Elimination Chamber. Later that year, the first Women's TLC match closed out the year's pay-per-view calendar. Speaking of pay-per-views, Evolution was the first and thus far only major WWE show to feature an all-female card. This might have had something to do with WWE's much-maligned relationship with Saudi Arabia, which also started in 2018, but never mind. Speaking of Saudi Arabia, the country played host to the disastrous returns of Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan at Crown Jewel. To be fair, Shawn was actually the best part of his match on the night, but it was still a stinker. WWE bolstered its roster with the returns of Bobby Lashley and Rey Mysterio, and the in-ring debut of one Ronda Rousey. And finally, to bring things back to the women's division, Becky Lynch, quote-unquote, turned heel at
and they still cheer her.
SummerSlam 2018, giving birth to the character we all know today as The Man. Number 3, 2011. When you look at WWE in 2011, there is no way it should be this far up the list. WrestleMania 27 was an utter blowout, Randy Savage passed away, Edge retired, and the 40-man Royal Rumble was, how do I say this politely, bollocks. But when CM
Yeah, that wasn't really a good ending. I don't know.
Punk sat at the top of the ramp on the June 27th, 2011 edition of Raw, nobody could have
One of the greatest promo talkers, one of the greatest promos. The pipe bomb. CM Punk, my favorite wrestler. Yeah, no doubt about it. One of the best moments of this year.
predicted what was about to happen. In a rant the likes of which we had never seen before, Punk took on John Cena, Triple H, Vince McMahon, and even the fans in a scathing rundown of everything he thought was wrong with the company. To this day, it remains one of the most important promos in all of wrestling history, injecting some much-needed excitement into the product and bringing back thousands of lapsed fans. Punk's title reign, which started with an iconic match at Money in the Bank, might not have lived up to expectations, but there can be no denying just how important his rise to the main event scene was to the industry as a whole. Number 2, 20...
Bring Make it ring, girl.
Come on, the video's about to be over and we have an ad.
It says a lot that the
Okay, guys, he said 2017.
year in which Jinder Mahal was WWE champion can make it this far up the list. The women's division took a giant leap forward when the first ever all-female Money in the Bank match was announced. Sure, it might have been won by a man, but the thought was there. Aleister Black and the Undisputed Era debuted down in NXT, and Drew McIntyre returned to the company via the Black and Gold. That promotion put on TakeOver Chicago in May, which was the starting point for the era-defining Gargano vs. Ciampa feud. Also in NXT, we got the return of War Games. Sorry, that should be War Games! Asuka's main roster call-up was supplemented by former favourites Mickie James, the Hardy Boys, and Kurt Angle returning to the fold. The first ever Mae Young Classic introduced fans to swathes of new female talent, including Shayna
He said Kurt Angle returned in 2017.
Baszler, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Candice LeRae, Lacey Evans. Okay, we should probably stop there, otherwise we'll be here all day. And come on, was Jinder's title reign really that bad? Alright.
Actually, I don't think it was really a big deal. You know, I feel like he had the physique, am I saying the word right? You guys know what I mean. Physique or the term. Just look how he's structured, he looks built as a champion. Before he came back, he wasn't fit. That's why when he left, he had to get time to work out and get himself back in shape before he came back to the company. So that's why I heard about the backstory and why he was gone from the company, and he came back, and I'm guessing that's why also they pushed him to the top and you know, they also say because, you know, the promotion that, you know, Vince had gotten with the company, so that's another thing also. But yeah, let's get back to this. I don't mind the title reign. It wasn't that bad.
It was, but still. Number 1, 2015. Roman Reigns' misguided 2015 push was actually balanced out by an excellent title reign for his former Shield buddy. Seth Rollins gave WrestleMania perhaps his
This is like one of the best endings of a WrestleMania.
best ever ending when he cashed in Money in the Bank to steal the WWE title in the heist of the century. He then proved himself to be a super worker against the likes of Randy Orton, Dean Ambrose, and John Cena before his knee blew out from carrying the entire company. We also have to discuss NXT, which
When his leg went out and he had to relinquish his title, it was at a live event. It wasn't even televised. It was a live event. I think he torn his ACL or something, and he was out of action for a while.
which really came into its own in 2015. Kevin Owens had a great run with the top prize before dropping it to Finn Balor to kick off his first immaculate title reign. NXT TakeOver Brooklyn also produced Bayley winning the women's title from Sasha Banks in a match that seriously changed many people's opinions on what women's wrestling could be. This led to the Divas.
Alright, that was WWE in the 2010s. Every year ranked from worst to best. I think he's just talking about that, but he talked about the rest of that. Yeah, that was that. Alright, subscribe, like, comment, tell me what you guys want to see next in the comments down below. I got more videos coming, stay tuned, and yeah, Uriah out.